Morning everybody. Welcome to the latest of FDA's Market Insight Workshops. Pleased to see we've got a good turnout today to find out all things about India. We're delighted today that we've been joined by three excellent speakers to give us what promises to be a very informative session on what is, I guess, the world's largest and fastest growing consumer market, and very much in the news with the free trade agreements having been agreed, waiting for that to be ratified, but we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So our three speakers today are Siddharth Mukni, who is FDA's in-market expert for India and new to our community. So welcome to you, Siddharth. We then have Max Green from the Food and Drink Federation, who'll be looking at some of the data around India. And then Liam Launders from WTA Group, who will be giving us some insights into the logistical considerations for exporting to India. So we've got a lot to cover. So I will jump off and pass the mic immediately over to Siddharth. If you do have any questions, there is a chat box down the bottom. We will take them all at the end rather than as we go along. So if you think of anything as you go along, either pop them in the chat or save them until we get to the end of the presentations. And the presentations should last around about 40 minutes. So sit back, take note, and Siddharth, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandra. Good morning, all. As Sandra said, I'm Siddharth Mukne. I'm the Managing Director of Argo Europe Limited, as well as India Partnership Forum. So I know we have got a very limited time. So I will straight ahead go and share my slides, and we can start talking about how the India market look like. Okay. Nice. So give me a second. Sorry. Okay. I hope everybody can see my slides.
Yep, that's good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm going to talk about, just to brief you about that, how the India market look like, what are the dynamics, how the things are before, then Max will tell you in details about the particular food and drink sector. So you can see that is the world largest, the very youngest population, 1.4 billion population. And within that, there is 52 percent of our population is less than 24 years old, and 60%, 60% population is less than 30 years old. So very young and energetic the country, and with skills it's quite available in India. There are 432 million middle class, so that could be the target market. So even though we have considered India as a huge market, very highly populated, but at the same time, only 31% India is in the urban region, and the 69% in rural area. So if for our products, we need to target on the 31% urban region, and within that as well, that's 432 million middle class who can afford the price of the UK product. There are 400 million online shoppers. They are growing almost every day. Market size, I can see that almost 332 billion US dollar, and it will double, more than double by 2030. So it's very growing market, and I will explain you why this the growth is all about. At the same time, the infrastructure is growing very fast. Just one of the example is that India is building 37 kilometers of highways every day. And the last year been there, according to them, is a world record. They built 12,349 kilometer highways across. So it's a huge development is going across the country. Just a couple of weeks back, the India has become now the fourth largest economy. And by the Goldman Sachs and the Morgan Stanley, they predicted that India will be third largest economy by 2028, which is not far away. And this is one the fifth of global growth market at the moment. if you could see that there is a huge opportunity, there is a lot of a big the market, but we have to see that. Just wanted to give the different perspective. There's many countries within one country, so you can see how the consumer base is. That each state represents the consumer base of that particular country. So you can see that that's what I mean to say, that how big is the market, how massive opportunity, and can create the if the doors are open, then it will change the business completely. So as I mentioned to you that it's growing, one of the fastest the growing sector in India, and the reason behind is that there's a increased disposable income, so particularly in the urban region, and that's growing rapidly. Rising urbanizations. That's why you will see a lot of food chain as well as the malls and the tall buildings and so many things happening at the moment. It's quite exciting time. They're changing lifestyles. So as you will see more Western lifestyle in India than before. The reason is that the many people traveling abroad, that number has increased significantly. In fact, even just last year when I was in India, they shown that the in 2023 there the Indian traveling abroad has increased by 1200%. So you can see that how many people are traveling around, and because of that, there's an increased global exposure. So they like to see the product at their doorstep. And that's, but as I said, that there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of the for the UK product, but at the same time there's some challenges that we have to add. I always say that is easy place to get lost if you don't have the right structure and channel. And that's what we the ergo, that means emerging region growth opportunities here to support you. And we are now the official service provider for the Department for Business and Trade. And so we are helping for India and the South Asia market. So what now approach is that I always feel that we have to develop the structure before engaging with India, to understand the market dynamics, to see that how big is the market for you, is there an opportunity for you, and within India, where is opportunity, so that you can focus in that area. So for example, India has got 28 states and the 9 union territories, but they can't all have been the be the your potential market. So within India, we have to identify where should you go and find the partner in that area where is the opportunity. And there is also understanding the regulatory environment and the registration process for the product and drink, and as well as with then navigate the bureaucratic process which is still there if you want to register the product. So one first step is that to understand the market. Just do your homework before going into the market. How is the competition works there? Who are the players there, international and domestic? What is the price range? How the taxation works? How the regulations work? And within the where is the market and how to position there? So that first, I think, you need to understand that the market before you engage with them. Then you can plan for the market entry stage, that how you want to engage with the market, through the partnership or a joint venture or finding the agents, whatever the is suitable for your product and services. And then you can plan for the expansion stages around it. So that's where the Ergo is helping you to do the market management consultancy support to understand the market, do the competition landscape, finding the partners, potential clients, or potential suppliers you want to manufacture there in India. If you need any product registration support as well, as well as that if you want to set up a business, whether is you need a back office support or HR support, whatever the need it. So it's not about always is what we have, or it's all about what you need, and we can create the support system around it. So before I think just conclude my session, I just wanted to give few tips to engage with India. As I already mentioned in my earlier slide, there are many Indias within India. So that the second point is very much related to it. Be aware of cultural diversity and be cautious of generalization. So the one model you can, if you create for one state, may not be, you can't say that it is applicable for another state as well, because each state is so different, their expectation, their business culture, their social economic culture. So we have to understand that in the best possible way and to work around it. Indian places great value on relationship. So I think it's not about the selling the product in India. We have to identify that how we can build that relationship, develop the relationship, and work as a partner together on the ground. That will be very helpful for because there's lot many countries are engaging with India. There is already lot many products, international products available in India. So we there that is more about that the good thing for UK product is that the perception about UK product is pretty quite good. They are considering UK product as a very quality product, and so it gives us a mileage. But at the same time, that is just the start. But how you could develop that the relationship will help you to develop the market. Be flexible in approach. It's not about what you have, it's about what India needs. So keep on changing the thing required. So for example, many companies, even McDonald, if you say that the in UK there's only one kitchen, but in India they're having the two kitchen for one vegetarian, one for non-vegetarian. For example, Amazon, they are having the payment on delivery service, which is not available here in UK. So the country, even the large businesses are looking at what are the India's requirement, and they are work around it. So I always insist that even though you have a fantastic product, but if you need to make say, a few changes, please do so that you can reach out to the wider consumer base in India. And the most important part is be patient. So the things won't be happen as swiftly as you expect. So that we have to be patient and make sure that is India is for long term, not for the short term. So always take your time to develop the relationship and be patient to get the result out of it. So I will stop here. So this is my details. I'll be more than happy to have the call or the later on to set up a virtual call or meeting. I'm based in London to discuss your requirement and how I can help you to develop your strategy. So I will stop here and pass it on to Asanda again.
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth. Some good general rules there in terms of dealing with India. I guess for the people on the call, I guess they're quite keen to understand where to start and understand the routes to market. What's your thoughts on, you mentioned e-commerce being booming, and obviously traditional retail and modern retail. I guess, if a brand is starting out, what would your advice be in terms of looking at those channels and which route might be the most lucrative for them?
So thank you, Sandra. So the most important, because it's depend upon the what the product is and what your cost is. Normally, e-commerce is booming. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. But e-commerce is, if you want to position yourself as a premium product, then it has to be go through the brick and mortar model. But because the e-commerce is always very cost competitive, because people see the competitiveness. Even here we do the same thing, we check the price when you go online. So we have to see that where do your product is fits. If you go to the volume side, then there will the cost will be always the challenge, because there will be local manufacturer, there are other manufacturer as well. But if you want to go for the premium, position yourself as a premium product, then it has to be for the marketing side, the brick and mortar model. So I always feel that it's always go, because we have got an age to become up as a premium product. So go to the target the premium market, even though it's a niche market, but at least you will get a chance to test the market and understand how the Indian market works. Once you engage with India as a premium market, then you can expand your wings slowly and steadily, and then you can try the different things, whether we should the e-commerce or whether other identify the other states and find the different distributors around it.
Thank you. And across the 28 states you mentioned, the bricks and mortar retailers, can you share some insights on, are there retailers that are stronger in certain states? Are there those that are national? Perhaps some names that people ought to do their research on?
So India is a huge country and so very diversified. So it's to identify to get one distributor who can cover pan India is very difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but it's always been challenging, because one state itself is one country. So as I shown in my this slide as well. So that's what I'm saying is need to, first thing is that to have the helicopter view. So how the India looks like for your product and services, and then concentrate the area where there is a potential. For example, out of 28 states, only 2 states have got a more potential. Then identify the brands or the distributors in that region, so that the success will be much quicker than the other way around. So there are many the retailers are there. The Amazon I already mentioned to you, and then there is big even corporates have got their own chains, food chains, and the malls around it. So it depends upon how you play with it. But I always say that first is to do the market feasibility study. Is even though I know it's a bit cost, but it's always good so that you don't otherwise in India what happen is that is a long wait, you don't know how long, when it will happen. So once you understand the market, then there is two advantage. One is that you are in the driving position because you know the market very well, and then when you discuss with your potential partner, then they won't take the advantage of your lack of knowledge. You are way ahead of it. And second advantage is that because as I earlier mentioned to you that the distributors are really good in that own regions, probably they are not aware about other side of the market, then you can guide them through that. Okay, you are doing really well here for us, but what about the other market? According to our report, it says that there's opportunity in other state. If they are ready to expand, well and good. If they can't, then you can look for somebody else in that region. So you can develop your entry strategically, not just ad hoc basis. Otherwise, you don't know where to go.
Good, thank you. Okay, I'm sure we'll have some other questions at the end. But yeah, thank you for that, Siddharth. Max, probably a good time to jump to you to look at where we're at with the trade deal and what the data is telling us at the moment. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully everyone see. Give me 2 seconds. Can everyone see that? Sorry.
Perfect. Yep.
Great. So, yep. So, as Sandra already mentioned, I'm Max Green. I'm from the Food and Drink Federation. I'm just going to go through some things about the policy, the FTA policy, and some trade stats for you. But for those who haven't heard of the FTF before, there we go. So we are the largest membership body that focuses purely on food and drink manufacturing. Our main areas are more about advocacy work and influencing government policy. We represent members from small businesses to large businesses across all of the 4 nations with the Scotland and Welsh office. And we work very closely with government. We've got very good contacts into government as well as other bodies such as the FDEA, but also NFU, BRC, DEFRA, and DBT. We work on kind of 5 main policy issues. So within industry growth, we look at international trade, but we also focus on other areas such as sustainability, regulation, people and skills, and innovation. We kind of have 6 main pillars. So we'll work, so what membership gets is kind of looking at accessing some of our policy experts that can explain some of the policies, especially in FTAs, as well as giving a chance for networking. But one of our largest areas where we do a lot of work is advocacy work, so influencing policy on your behalf. We have very good connections into government. And also we produce a lot of resources, insights, and trade data, which I'm very happy to go into now. So in terms of the FDA with India, so as you're aware, it was agreed in the start of May. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for full details of the agreement. So I don't have a lot to share on that, but I've got what I know so far. We're hopefully looking to have a signature with the FTA at end of July and early August, which should give us things like tariff schedules, how the rules of origin will work, and everything like that. So very happy to work with the FDEA up until that point and get some more details out when available. But what we do know from the deal is from day one, we're going to have a 64% of exports into India will be liberalized on and 85% from year 10. In terms of specific products that we know we're going to get some liberalization or reduction, the one thing I should mention here is we're not sure yet of the timeline of these reductions. We're not sure of the increments, and we're not sure if it'll be entering into force. So still a little bit of work to explore into that. But we know that there'll be a reduction or liberalization in salmon products, chocolate, sweet biscuits, and soft drinks going into India, as well as the big one where we're getting a reduction in the whiskey tariff over 10 years to eventually go to 40%. What's interesting about the whiskey and a lot of the alcoholic beverages is India doesn't give access to this for a lot of its FTA partners. So the UK will be the only country that has lower than 150% tariff on these products. One thing that the FDF was quite supportive of was we did a lot of work with government around protecting some of UK MFN tariffs, so particularly in the rice and sugar sectors. So we have not had any reduction in the MFN, the UK MFN for milled rice and processed sugar. One last thing is what the India FTA does, which is really good, especially for food and drink products, is it looks at trying to release goods within a 48-hour window. And although this isn't as good as, let's say, the Australia or the New Zealand FTA, where it's a lot shorter time for perishable goods, it is a big improvement on what we already have. And the way they're going to try and do this is we've got a policy in there where you don't have to pay for your duties up front. You can pay for your duties and tariffs after the good has been released. And also there's quite a good digital trade digitalization part in the customs and borders chapter. So in terms of some of the stats we're looking at, so this slide looks at mostly UK exports into India. So you'll see that over the last decade, we've had an incredibly high increase in exports, up 156%, with incredibly impressive growth in certain categories. So with sugar, confectionery, and chocolate going up over 1,000% over the last 10 years, and protein concentrates over 2,000%. Sorry, yeah, 2,000%. And what's interesting about protein concentrates is the UK is quite a good, it's a leader when it comes to things like vegetarian alternatives, product innovation. So as you know, India's got a very large vegetarian population, so that protein concentrates could become a lot more popular in the future and could represent quite a big opportunity. You'll see the two graphs I put there. So the first thing you'll notice is I've done two graphs because alcohol does seem to dominate exports from the UK to India, but I took out the alcoholic products as well, just to show that over the last 10 years, we have seen an increase in pretty much across the board. So even in food products and non-alcoholic drinks, there's still that steady incline. So that's good to see. In terms of top export products, again, you can see whiskey is dominating that really. But we've had really high growth in shellfish, particularly in lobsters. This isn't India Pacific, this is across the world. Actually, we've seen a large increase in the exports of lobsters in the last year, but also some really good growth in things like breakfast cereals. Chocolate, which we know has a tariff liberalization eventually. Just a note on chocolate, we've seen quite a large increase in the price of cocoa. So although 19% looks really impressive, some of this will be down to the increased price of the commodity. Protein concentrates, again, up almost 200%. Sugar, confectionery, soft drinks. Soft drinks is another area where we're looking at tariff liberalization of what we know. So that's almost doubled as well. And you'll see that the alcohol, the gin and spirits have dropped quite a lot in the last year. Again, this is a global kind of trend that we're seeing, where we're seeing much lower exports in these premium gin, spirits, beers, and wines. In terms of opportunities for the India FTA moving forward, so what I've got here is I've just got a slide tracking agri-food imports into India over the last 20 years. I've just compared a couple countries here. So Thailand and Singapore both have FTAs with India, and granted, I know they're a lot closer than our market, but it does show you what a liberalization of tariffs can do. You can see all countries kind of have a steady increase. And one thing you'll notice right away is from kind of 2020 post-COVID, we've seen a huge increase in all markets importing agri-food products into India, just showing that India is starting to open up to imports from across the globe. You'll see also Australia kind of dips a little bit in around 2019, 2020. This was due to a lot of things like pulses, lentils, chickpeas. There was a few trade disputes there, but from 2022 they signed an agreement which pushed down the tariffs on these products, and you can already see that it's starting to recover. But obviously the UK being probably the largest market here, we are lagging behind some of these other markets. Given the geographical proximity, we will never be up there, but we can see that a reduction in tariffs could lead to hopefully a big increase in agri-food imports or exports to India. In terms of specific opportunities, so as you're all very aware, India has incredibly high tariffs on all of its products. So a lot of its alcohol products are around 150%. As I said before, whiskey and a couple of other alcohol products will be the UK will have much better access than a lot of other markets. So we see a big opportunity there. But also we're seeing really high MFN rates on things like meat preparations, especially in sausages, of around 100%. Tea and coffee, both processed and unprocessed, is around 100%. And then dairy products such as milk and cream, cheese, those kind of things have very high MFN rates as well as fruit juices, malt extracts, and prepared fruits. And the majority of other processed food has a 30% MFN between the UK and India. If you look at the top right-hand part of the screen, what you'll see is the top imports, the fastest growing imports into India over the last 5 years since COVID. So you'll notice that there's been quite a lot of growth. The middle column actually shows the average annual growth in the last 5 years. So you'll see that molasses are doubling each year going into India, but still really impressive growth in kind of milk and cream, ice cream, prepared fruit and nuts, which has a higher MFN rate, jams, chocolate, which we're going to see hopefully quite a large tariff reduction on that one, as well as soft drinks, we know there's a tariff reduction there. Sauces, cheese, and prepared crustaceans as well, going really well in imports into the country. On the far right-hand side, this is the average tariff, which is applied within FTAs and without FTAs in India, around 4-digit CN code. So as long as we can get a tariff which is lower than this, then we'll be a lot more competitive. And I do think that from what I've heard, it's looking quite positive that we're going to get quite a lot of tariff reductions in some of those products. So hopefully we'll be a lot more competitive than a lot of other markets. What I've tried to show in the bottom table, and apologies if it's too small for you to read on your screen, but I tried to look at some of the export strengths that the UK have in terms of where we rank in global exporting, and seeing if we're performing well enough in the Indian market currently. You'll also see there's a few countries there that have the 0% tariff due to FTAs, and that does show that there is an opportunity that those markets have grown due to that reduction in tariff. So if we just look at a couple in more detail, so you'll see, for example, when it comes to chocolate, the UK is the 9th largest global exporter of chocolate, yet we're only the 19th largest supplier into India. The top supplier being Italy, which has currently the same tariff as the UK of 30%. So we're hoping that reduction in that will make us a lot more competitive compared to our European neighbours. When it comes to things like sweet biscuits, breakfast cereals, soft drinks, you'll see that India's top import partner is actually under FTAs. So Malaysia being the top exporter of sweet biscuits, Thailand being the largest for breakfast cereals, and Nepal being the largest source of soft drinks into the Indian market. You'll see that the UK underperforms in most of these areas. So, for example, the 3rd largest global exporter of biscuits, yet we're only the 7th largest importer into India. Just moving further down, you've got salmon as well, which is quite interesting. We don't actually export much salmon to India at all. That's all dominated pretty much by Norway. So any reduction in that tariff, we can outcompete Norway, hopefully. And same for gin and sauces, we underperform as well. And similar with the whiskey, we're getting a tariff reduction on gin as well, where apparently the US is the highest source of gin for them. But just looking at those markets, Thailand, Nepal, Malaysia, relatively smaller than the UK markets. We produce a lot more in terms of global exports than a lot of those countries, yet we're still lagging behind them. Although the geographical proximity is advantageous for them, we do think that a 0% tariff, or a reduction anyway in our current tariff, will help massively to push us up the rankings a little bit more. That is everything from me, but I think these slides are being circulated afterwards, so you can have a look at in your own time. Thank you. I might have to get Sandra to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks, Max. No, that's really good insight. It's interesting to see the different categories. I guess just for clarification on the categories that weren't listed as having the immediate reduction, so tea being 100%, for example, what's the status of those kind of negotiations? Is it that it's a later date, or what's your sort of insight as to when other tariffs will be looked at?
So the agreement has concluded now. So all the tariff lines have already been confirmed. Unfortunately, they're not going to publish them until signatory, the wider. So the products that I mentioned have been in their press release to try and get some good press around the deal. But we should find out more on the other products around the end of July, early August.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, so just to clarify, it's not a definitive list at the moment. It's the good PR bit that they've put out to say, look what we've done, and we're waiting to hear on all the rest.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in meetings and with the DBT teams and DEFRA teams, so I realize there are a much wider list of products that have had tariff liberalization or tariff reduction. So there is a much more exhaustive list to come with the tariff schedule. Actually, I think they're looking to publish it before signatory, so it could come as soon as middle of July.
Great. Okay, good insights. Yeah, thank you. Good. And then Liam, we'll move to you now. So Liam's from the WTA group, one of our FDEA members in the logistics space, often sharing good insights with us on all sorts of issues. And I know, Liam, India's a market that you're very active in and looking to support brands. So yeah, it'd be good to get your insights on the logistical considerations for anyone looking to target India.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sandra. I will take it from here and share my screen. So, thank you, Sandra, for having me here today to do this presentation. I'm Liam, Head of Sales at WTA Group, and I'm going to complete this trio of presentations talking you through the logistics of exporting from the UK to India. As a crow flies, it's just under 5,000 miles between the UK and India, but that's been considerably increased, unfortunately, due to the Red Sea diversions, due to ships having to sail around the Cape of Good Hope. So as you can imagine, it's a fairly large logistical challenge, but it's far from insurmountable. With the right guidance and advice, India is a market that you can all expand into. So to give you a little bit of a background about me, I've got 3 passions in life. They're craft beer, Berry FC, and supporting UK food and drink businesses with their exports. So it's ideal that I'm in this job. I've been in the freight forwarding industry for over 10 years, well, in the freight industry for over 10 years. I sort of fell into logistics as most people do, to be honest. My logistics career started whilst playing semi-professional rugby. One of the coaches had a friend who worked in the logistical business, and I was a van driver. Ironically, that ended up being the best move of my rugby career, as that's well behind me now, and I'm still in the freight and logistics industry. So in those 10 plus years, I've done a bit of everything, really. I've gone from driving the vans to road freight operations, air freight, sea freight. I've pretty much done the whole thing in a pretty short period of time. Joined WTA around 4 years ago as an ocean import operator, moved up to key account management, and recently been appointed as head of sales, managing the new sales team and looking after new business. And to give you a little bit of info about the WTA group, we've been in business for over 100 years now. We were founded in 1913 by Ernest Summer, and it is now run by the 4th generation of the same family. John and Rochelle are our co-CEOs, and still heavily involved in the business to this day. I think an interesting fact to point out is that our first ever shipment was the movement of ice from Switzerland to the UK. I think it just shows that our history in the movement of temperature controlled goods goes back to our very beginnings. And it's interesting that the Swiss service still runs to this day, but it's not ice now. It's like Swiss engineered products that we import into the UK. And we're very proud of our food and drink specialism, and we've built that over the decades of business, over a century of business we've been operating. We have some of the best food and logistics and customs expertise in the industry. We've got some brilliant people, and that's why we're the preferred supplier of some of the big players in the food and beverage sector. We boast over 20,000 food shipments a year with over 80 food and drink customers serving 63 countries. It is a sector that we know a lot about. So that's enough about me and WTA. We should talk about the important thing, which is the UK to India trade deal. So shipping from the UK to India, you have two main options, and these are sea freight and air freight. And we're going to focus on the sea freight section of that in the first part of this presentation, and that is the most popular, of course, because of cost. The UK and India are well connected via sea freight. Your key ports of departure from the UK are the usual names that you'd expect, so Felixstowe, London Gateway, and Southampton. CMA CGM offer a weekly service from Southampton, whilst MSC and others offer weekly services from Felixstowe and London Gateway. And based on the data that we've got in our system at the moment, it looks like London Gateway is the better port of departure as it's served by Hapag-Lloyd, Maersk and MSC, so you've got a bit more of an option there. Transit times are typically 30 to 40 days, but that is in normal circumstances. And of course, at the moment, we aren't in normal circumstances, unfortunately. It is heavily dependent on how many calls the vessel does within Northern Europe before starting its voyage to India. Often vessels that leave the UK port will hop around Antwerp, Rotterdam, Hamburg, etc. before leaving for India. And this is particularly true of MSC's Felixstowe departure to Nhava Sheva, which makes 6 calls in Europe before taking 2 weeks. Takes 6 calls in Europe, which takes 2 weeks before heading to India. In the current circumstances, as mentioned, it's turbulent out there. The geopolitical situation is undeniably strained, and this means that the Red Sea diversion is in place, which means it's taking around 45 to 55 days to get from the UK to India at the moment. This has been in place for around 18 months now, and unfortunately, given the volatility of the situation, I cannot see that being relinquished anytime soon by any of the major carriers. CMA are brave, and they've started experimenting with certain transits navigating the waterway, but all the others have shown no interest. It's not ideal for the UK to India exports because of the mileage and transit time it adds, but it is far from insurmountable. And it may be over by the time the trade deal is ratified anyway. On the India side, the majority of imports from the UK will go to Nhava Sheva and Mundra. This is for 3 main reasons, really. Firstly, they're the country's biggest ports. Nhava Sheva has a yearly throughput of over 7.3 million TEU, which is unbelievable. That's nearly double of Felixstowe. Secondly, they're obviously geographically more accessible for UK exporters being on the west coast of India. And thirdly, they're well positioned strategically for onward transportation to key commercial hubs within the country. For example, Nhava Sheva is right next to Mumbai, and Mundra is best placed to reach New Delhi, although significant onward transportation is still likely required. Oh. There we go. Now, moving on to air freight. For those shipping perishable goods, then air freight is likely to be the preferred option. Of course, it's a lot quicker, but that pace comes with additional cost. It's a lot more expensive. London Heathrow is overwhelmingly the market leader for connections with India, with several flights every day, all to the major Indian cities. There are other direct links from Manchester and London Gatwick, but these are limited. And if you're based in the north, of course, it sounds quite constricted, but if you go via an indirect service, that opens up your options of departure airports considerably. So then you've got Edinburgh, Manchester, and Birmingham all offering indirect services to India, and their flights stop generally in the Middle East before transiting on to India. Transit time here is dramatically reduced, of course, compared to ocean freight. Rather than 45 to 55 days, we're looking at 9 hours on a flight if it's direct, and 12 to 16 hours if it's indirect. But of course, with customs and processing time, etc., in between that, you can expect about 5 to 7 days from door to door, which of course is considerably faster than ocean freight. However, as mentioned before, it does come at a premium, unfortunately. Another significant advantage of air freight is being able to access inland customers. The nearest seaport to the capital, New Delhi, for example, sits 1,200 kilometres away in Mundra, meaning freight requires significant onward transportation to reach its destination. And that's not the case when you use air freight, which can obviously fly almost straight to the customer near Indira Gandhi International Airport. This is less of a benefit to other major commercial hubs as the likes of Mumbai and Chennai sit in the coastal areas, but the transport time is still significantly reduced from that 45 to 50-day transit time on ocean. Obviously, the main roadblock with air freight is the cost. On average, air freight is 5 times more expensive for the same journey via sea freight. So let's go through some of our top pieces of advice for shipping to India. Firstly, we think it's wise to plan for longer transit times as the diversions around the Cape of Good Hope look likely to remain in place for the foreseeable, as the situation remains extremely volatile in that region. Whilst this is the case, we can assume most carriers will stay away. It will take a prolonged period of stability to tempt carriers back to the waterway, and who knows how long that could take at the moment. So in the long-term planning, you are best to expect those longer transit times. We would advise using the main ports we've highlighted in the previous 2 slides. This is not only because they have the most services, but the infrastructure to support all the types of cargo is more advanced in those ports than in the smaller ports. This is particularly true with frozen and chilled goods. On the India side, Mundra tends to suffer less with congestion based on the data that we've got available to us. So maybe lean towards that one, unless of course your final destination is more accessible from Mumbai. A key point, especially with the movement of any food or drinks, is visibility, particularly on deep sea transport. And this isn't just about seeing where your goods are within the transportation, it's also having a handle on their live temperature, monitoring light, humidity, and shocks. This gives you visibility of the conditions of the goods and how they've been transported en route. Many credible logistics providers should be able to offer this as part of their service, and it's something that we certainly pride ourselves on, is having that data-driven information throughout our transportation offering. Which brings on to our next point. Speak to a freight forwarder about who understands the market and has links within the market. As we've already heard, India has historically been a protectionist and bureaucratic market. Whilst the trade deal has reduced friction for exporting, it hasn't totally removed it. It's vital to speak to a freight forwarder with expertise on the trade lane and one that can help you navigate the logistics and customs without issue. And finally, personally, I'd try and negotiate space protection guarantees, particularly with the type of products that most people listening to this will be moving. In some instances, the cargo could roll, and that could mean that you've got to wait an extra week on top of the already extended transit time. So it's important to make sure that you get the transit time that you're aiming for, particularly as, again, based on the type of cargo that a lot of you will be shipping. And finally, I just want to look at 3 areas of concern based on our experience. Again, nothing to leave you overly worried, but just worth noting when you're looking at your plans on exploring the Indian market. From my experience, onward transportation with India can often be a little bit unreliable, whether using road or rail. It can be difficult to orchestrate from afar, and you will need a well-connected freight forwarder or partner with in-market experience to minimize the chance of delays. There can often be unclear handling fees and other charges involved, and having a freight forwarder that has local partners and local knowledge is the best way to get clarity on them and know them all up front. Also, be hyper sure that your documentation and licensing information is correct if it is required. Document errors can cause long delays on import and lead to unexpected charges. And finally, just be mindful of more limited cold chain infrastructure outside of the big cities. Whilst the infrastructure for transport and storage is very good in the major commercial hubs of India, further afield it can be a little bit more difficult as the infrastructure is not quite there yet. And that's everything for me. So thank you very much for listening. As have been highlighted with the other speakers as well, India is a brilliant market. There's an enormous opportunity there for UK businesses, and this trade deal is going to put us at a huge advantage. So if you want any help with the logistical side of it, please reach out to me. My details are on this slide, and I shall hand back to Sandra to wrap up.
Excellent. Thanks, Liam. No, that was
No
really good.
problem.
That was really, really helpful in terms of the geography and the ports, and yeah, all vital for exporters. So yeah, thank you for that.
No problem.
And yeah, you touched on the Red Sea. I think that was one of the issues we would have brought up, just as what has been the impact. But yeah, you've summarised that very well in terms of the additional time and cost. And yeah, I know those of you that were our Network Forum event in June earlier this month, we had the export minister there, and it was one of the issues that we raised collectively was the cost of shipping and the seeming cartels of the shipping companies just pushing prices up and up, making exporting even more difficult. So yeah, I know that's something you've shared some insights on before as well.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. If anyone has any questions, if you're not familiar with Zoom, if you hover your cursor down the bottom of the screen, there is a little react button that looks like a love heart. If you click on that, it allows you to pop your hand up and ask a question. Or if you'd prefer, you can put something into the chat. I guess if I kick it off, perhaps come back to you, Siddharth, and just ask a question about consumer trends in food and drink. I know there are a lot of global trends in health and wellness and premium, and it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on trends and what you're seeing in the Indian market.
It is quite a mixture, because now, as I earlier mentioned, this India is adopting the Western lifestyle, and it's because of the young generations. They like to have that kind of very the Western foods. That is where the cheese is quite hot favorite at the moment. So there's a huge demand for the cheese. Vokes and others, Babas are there doing really well in India. So as in the other product even, and at the same time there is bit the young Indians are quite health conscious, and that's why you'll see a lot of protein bars and other things. One example, actually, I'd like to give it to you that I did take one delegation almost 3 years back, and for the food and drink sector, and one of the person manufacturing the protein bar here selling at £1.35. And when we went to the retail shops, there's a Nature Basket, a retail chain is there, and they surprised to see there are so many protein bars with a wonderful packaging around it, and that cost is 50p. So that we have to have that understanding. Unless you see that things, how the things are progressing, unless you show something is the better than what they have got it there, then the people will be restricted to pay that things. So I see that this overall market for the health consciousness, but at the same time they are targeting the very Western food. And even Turkey, I was surprised to see the Turkey when I was in India last December during the Christmas time. I never seen that before. So you can even salmon, as I mentioned, is quite a heavily sold in India. So cider and other, and there used to be now the lot of pub chains around it. So you'll see that a lot of dark beer and cider and many other things as well there. So for me, because I moved to the UK almost 26 years back, and when I go back, I can't recognize it because I can't relate to it because it's completely changed. It's very adopted the very Western lifestyles around it. But for the saying that, I think there is a great opportunity for the product to see that to explore the opportunity there. When I met one of the distributor there, and he said really a valid point. He said that if you want to get 1% of India, you have to give 100%. And that is so true, that because even that 1% can change your business. That 1% can be huge, but you have to commit to it. You have to give the 100% for that. So that's, I think, for your going back to your question, there's opportunity for the wellness product as well as for the Western products. Any continental products are there. Sorry, you're on mute, Sandra. Can't hear you.
Sorry, schoolgirl error. Yeah, I saw one question just pop up there, which is very specific, asking for your advice on a specific product, which is sea salt in India. One of our members is a producer of high quality sea salt. Is that a product that you see having some potential?
It is actually, because that's what I say, that how you label it and how you position it. Even the any product, even say coming, as I mentioned earlier, that a product coming from the UK always have got some age, the quality product, and if, kind of differentiate it. I think Cornwall salt is already engaged with India. They're already doing with them. So there is an opportunity, but need to explore it, that and how we have to decide, develop the strategy, how you're going to position it, and which are the target market, whether we are targeting the hotels, restaurants, and catering, or whether we want to target the retail market. So it's all need to develop the strategy around it. But yes, but all possibility that you can sell that product in India.
Yeah, very good. There you go, Charlotte. Bit of free advice. We won't run through everybody asking for their particular categories, but I think you've demonstrated enough that you've got the insights and the knowledge to be able to do that research with companies should they want to start. If anyone's actually already trading in India, I think it'd be quite interesting if anyone wants to share any insights from their perspective. Do feel free to pop your hand up and share your own experiences, because I think that's always interesting for companies as well. But I think for most of our exporters, it's still quite a new market. Simon, I'll pass the mic to you. Thanks.
So I work for a small Welsh distillery. India has become in our top 5 export markets since about 2020 when we started importing there. I think when I look at the FTA, I have a word of caution over it for whiskey, in that the import tariffs are only about 25% of the value chain we operate with the distributor and retailers. So whilst it's welcome and it'll come down, it's not going to be a magic wand overnight for us. The supply chain lead times into India have got longer for sure, and the costs of even sort of 20-foot container loads have doubled. So we're looking at between £2,000 and £3,000 a time on shipments into India. And our customers are sort of demanding more extraneous terms from us. India is a land of plenty, a land of opportunity for sure, but as the guys have mentioned, it's 27, 28 different countries, some of which are dry. So there's no opportunity for spirits in those. And the others of them have different regimes in terms of essentially listing fees. So if you want to go into Delhi, you have to pay $5,000 per product for 1 year. And that is an example of your long-term investment needs. You have to plan for the long term, understand that there are some heavy, significant short-term costs before you've even sold a bottle or anything. And I know that alcohol will be a different category, maybe stands out to everything else in the food and drink sector. But because of the regimes in terms of state taxes, import duties, etc., and the taxation system going into the bonds in India, it's quite a complicated piece of work to do. So in terms of route to market and gaining the essential visibility, we use the duty-free shops in Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore as driving visibility, because people coming into India will see the brands. And again, there's investment there in terms of brand ambassadors, incentives that all are about making sure that we can get our whiskey in the basket instead of Johnny Walker. And that's an incredibly difficult task when Johnny Walker's got 120 brand ambassadors in Delhi and I've got one. So, you know, that's the scale of the thing. When you're looking up against multinational organizations that have got their operations already in India, then it is another thing to bear in mind. You have to sort of be there for the long term. Increasingly, the bigger players have got their own operations in India, and therefore they can benefit a little bit from beneficial taxation, etc., etc. So just a few watch outs. Labeling again is a very different. It's not really come up, but we have to conform to the FSSAI standards. So every carton stroke bottle going into India has to have a specific label that's been approved and applied at the point of dispatch. So we have to put them on in the warehouse here, not before it's been dispatched, and that labelling has to be approved by the government standards in India, all of whom in the past would have required some, let's say, oiling of palms, but you know that still is relevant in some respects in different states. But clearly the points are, yes, it's a long-term opportunity. The investment levels we're spending are higher in India than any other market in the world at the moment. and we're not, that's a higher proportion of gross profit we're investing way above anywhere else, but we hope we can support it and sustain it. Current dynamics may mean we have to take a slightly different tack, but yeah, so it's an interesting market. I think there are lots of DBT missions and people who want to go out there, and we had Wales and India last year where the government supported a number of events. Again, bringing sample stock into India was quite tough, but so yeah, it's definitely an opportunity for us and for the liquor industry. Taking gin into India is a bit like taking coals to Newcastle. The gin and tonic was invented in India, and there is a lot of Indian-made gin, and India is the largest whiskey market in the world by miles. But most of it's very cheap Indian-made local products, so we don't compete. Imported whiskey is less than, I think, 5% of the total consumption in India, despite that number of 250 million being a key number for us. So yes, it's a great opportunity, but there's lots of watch outs, logistical as well as P&L wise, to think through before you take those first steps. And there's a final sort of indicator in relative terms. If we're on the shelf here for £40, then that will be 10 times the amount by the time you get on the shelf in retail in India. So
Thanks,
just
Simon.
a few sort of thoughts in terms of our experiences to date.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, it sounds like you're putting a lot of effort in. You've got a lot of knowledge, so we'll definitely be tapping into that as well as we move forward. So
Yeah.
thanks for that,
And choose the
Simon.
right partner. Finding the right partner, as Siddharth said, is a incredibly complicated thing. I mean, if all the trade shows I go to, I maybe get 10 or 20 different people from India come up to me saying, "Can we represent you?" And I'm saying, "I'm already represented." And they say, "Well, we've never heard of your importer." Well, okay, it's a big country, but it's an influencing is definitely, it's not as key at the moment as maybe China, but it's becoming incredibly important to get influencers to show here, hey, I'm in Delhi Golf Club with this bottle of Penderyn, and that will automatically mean that the retailers around the Delhi Golf Club have to go out and source us, because the people who go to Delhi Golf Club, for which we pay a hefty listing fee, would be interested in buying our product. Same with like the Oberoi Hotel Group. Similar sort of thing. Heavy investment for not much product, but influence are just examples of how we've taken steps forward. But it is a significantly heavy investment market, but it's a long-term game.
Good advice. Thank you, Simon. Siddharth, did you want to come back on any of those comments?
No, absolutely. I think I agree with the Simon that as I already mentioned, that is a long term. You have to be there for the long term game, and finding the distributor. You're absolutely right. It's kind of make or break thing. Always been any country, but in India specifically, the more about this is more focus need to be given to identify, to understand their market credibility, they understand their financial background, whether they are ready to work with you. So need to do a lot of due diligence to make sure that they are the right people and the right region. That will make a difference. So I agree with Simon. I think, yeah, and the clear picture about the FTA will get much after that the document has been signed off, and we'll understand. And as well that there is a central tax GST as well as the state level as well. So we have to understand what is the implication of both the sides and what is the impact on the UK businesses on that one as well. So we'll get the clarity probably once the document is signed.
Yeah, I could just come in, Sandra, very quickly.
Yep.
I mean, we don't work in alcohol, but I realize there's quite a big IP and geographical indicator issue of India at the moment, as what was said earlier around the production of whiskey within India. So we are watching closely for the IP chapters to come out into in the text to read it, to see if there's any protections when it comes to things like Scotch whiskey and other brands.
Great. Yeah, important one for the sector. Very good. Right. We've been a whole hour already. Gosh, that flew by. Yeah, I can't see any other questions. Shout now if I've missed you, but I think yep, I think that's us done on the questions. So yeah, thank you to our three speakers. Thank you to Siddharth, to Max, and to Liam, or definitely sharing your expertise. From the FDA perspective, we'll obviously be monitoring things closely with Max and the team and making sure that we share with you the news as it evolves and things do get ratified and become clearer. And I think then we're keen to work together with SUDAF to see how we can create opportunities and put you in front of people, and maybe look at trade shows and get out to market and start making the connections that you need. So I hope that was useful, giving you lots of food for thought, I'm sure. If you think of any questions afterwards, do send them over to us, and we'll happily point you in the right direction with any queries that come up. So yeah, thank you again to everybody, and yeah, let's be in touch again soon on India. Thank you.
Thank you.